Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. Your Chiefs are off to a great start with rookie minicamp. Some of the draft picks in, some of the UDFAs in, a lot going on, and we are going to get down to the bottom of it tonight on your show. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue, but this is your show. You guys are going to put in the questions. I'm going to give you the answers, and we're going to work through it tonight. I appreciate you guys being here. Welcome to Monday night, the first official of the full offseason. This is the point where real fans show what they're doing. Thank you for liking and subbing and hitting the bell. If you were new to us or you find us after the live stream is over, make sure you subscribe. We have a ton of content for you, and we do it year-round all the time, no matter what. Dan, unfortunately, is under a little bit of weather, not feeling the greatest tonight. So it's just going to be you and me. I appreciate you, though. Latif, nice to see you. And I hope that he was feeling better. And thanks for being a fan. Appreciate you. Couldn't pass up the opportunity to tell you sorry if it wasn't the best time to do so. Yeah, I don't know the extent of how he's feeling, Latif. So don't worry if he was just a little bit bogged down by it. I know he said that he's not feeling the greatest, so he's going to work through that. But appreciate you reaching out, and cheers for saying hi to him. I know that it can help him. Nice to see you all. Again, if you are new to the channel, I'm Ryan, 20 years, a physiological development, a little bit of time as a strength and conditioning coach, a little bit of time as a personal trainer for a lot of guys that ended up in the league. I take that point of view, and that's what I bring to this channel. And if you haven't seen me before, that's kind of my unique take. It's not going to be your average fandom here. And we pick up a lot of fans in the offseason this time of year after the draft who've never really seen us before. And that's because we break it down for real, and we're going to tell you the truth. Like it, hate it, whatever it is, we're going to go through, and it's going to be the reality of what we evaluated, what we see, and what we expect. Are we 100% correct? Nah, nobody is. Nobody's perfect, and I don't bat 1,000 either. But we're going to give you the lowdown based on my experience in training athletes for this long and a lot of time spent on pre-NFL development. So with that said, if you would do what Steve Harrell does, who is one of our members, members get the extra breaks, the extra content. You saw Dan's rant last week. I'm going to have a piece for you this week as I break down just how lucky the Chiefs are in the way that they've been able to build their organization. You can get that by joining the memberships at the rookie level or above. If I know Minotaur's in here tonight, I'm sure he'll probably be giving away some draft pick level memberships, so enjoy those as well. You can always upgrade. That's what that little symbol is next to Steve's name there, is he is one of our core members. So he also put some question marks at the beginning. That helps me find them, especially on a night when Dan's not here, where we usually kind of tag team stacking the questions so that we don't miss anything. Give me a little bit of help if you guys would, as I'm going to try to get through and make sure I don't miss them. The question marks at the beginning definitely help. We're going to hit every super chat. Clinton's already got one in here. We're coming to it, Clinton. We'll be right there. But we're going to try to hit every topic with the question marks on it. So if you're new, that's the way to get on the show, and you can do that tonight. You can also get any of the gear that you'd like, this or otherwise, in the RGR store. It's all linked up in the description, as well as the post-draft research if you want to look at some of the guys that you got. Steve starts us off with a young offense this year. How do you think that the team will get together and avoid last year's poor offensive start? I think it's a little bit different, and I think mostly because the guys that you're going to rely on early, I don't know if there's going to be a suspension for Rashee Rice to start this season. There could be. It could be delayed as well, because the NFL is notorious for taking a back seat to law enforcement. And obviously this is a big public mess that has to be sorted out, that has to be gone through. And so it may take longer than the beginning of the season, may take longer than the season for all we know. So, and if that's the case and Rashee Rice is available, then I feel it's completely different, because I think Rashee proved to be that go-to receiver you can count on. Hollywood Brown has been that in the past for other quarterbacks. I don't see any reason why it won't be the same kind of scenario for Patrick Mahomes. And then there are other guys that are there. I think last year was part of the Super Bowl hangover with all the drops early in the season and that kind of stuff. I think the coaching staff's probably a little bit more aware of that. It does feel like while they're training with Patrick and they're going through their normal process, it does feel like they're not maybe overdoing it as much. So that this phase of the season, should be a lot of walkthrough, a lot of air, a lot of light reps. Yes, you want to work out, but you want to keep it light. I think maybe there was some overworking last season in the offseason, that kind of thing. So let's hope they just take it a little bit more relaxed and get the downtime that they need. This is a team that has played 20-game seasons over and over and over and over again recently. And I think that starts to catch up with some of the veterans. Now, it doesn't explain the young guys. Sky Moore had some drops last season as well. He's got to fix those. Hopefully that's going on. It's been very quiet offseason for Sky Moore. I hope that's a good sign. I hope that he's just working away, getting things better, and making sure that he's that guy. But in order to avoid it, I think you have to lean on the other guys that you can trust. And I think Justin Watson is one of them. I know he had a drop or two as well, but I think you have to go back to the well, because I think overall he's a guy that's been pretty clutch for you in his time in Kansas City. And this is likely his last season the way that it looks. So let's rely on that. And let's not put the impetus or the engine into full throttle for Patrick, making the no-look plays or the things that guys maybe aren't used to, maybe aren't prepared for. Let's do a little bit more down the middle, vanilla type stuff, get everybody in a flow. Now, that's what they're going to do in the preseason, but I'm talking about the regular season. Like, there should be enough talent on this team that you don't have to push the envelope or make, last-minute crazy plays in order to be successful. So I think that if they just pull the intensity down a little bit, I think that will help them get off to a more gradual start and probably help them in the long run. Now, I'm going to share on and off tonight, guys, just what I'm looking at, what I'm thinking. And maybe I need to change the shape of this window to make it a little bit more visible, hopefully. There we go. Better? Worse? There we go. Oh, now we're getting there. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay. So, again, if Rasheed's there, you have your top three guys available. Our lads has already put Xavier Worthy into the top three. I'm not sure I agree with that. I do think that Andy Reid is more likely to go with a Justin Watson starting outside on the other side and let Xavier come in as a secondary receiver, especially to start the season. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's not an indication of anything negative for Xavier. I think it's going to be fine. And I'm going to start calling him X, just so you guys know. I think he is the X factor. He's the next one, and so I'm going to lean that way. But you can see here, you have such a wealth of experience at the wide receiver spot. Anthony Miller has been let go, though. We did see that, and I think Copeland as well. So need a couple of updates here. But Nico Remigio is still on the roster, and I think we're going to see him eventually come training camp. Haven't heard anything about him doing anything too crazy so far. So keep that in mind. But that volume of experience, I think, is going to pay off pretty well. Thanks, Steve, as always. Thanks again, Latif. Appreciate you. And Clinton, nice to see you, and thanks for the support, buddy. Appreciate the super chat. Will Wiley overtake Noah in 12 personnel in training camp? That's a great question. Wiley's off to a hot start, but again, this is a passing camp. It's just against air. There's no collisions or anything. And I think really the determining factor is going to be, in all intents and purposes, they're different tight ends. They're different types of tight ends. And so the question is going to be, does Andy feel better about his ability to get out there and block a little bit over Noah, which he is stronger at? And is that something that they want to emphasize to begin the season? Or do they go a little bit more gradual, mellow, kind of like sneak up on you kind of attitude? I feel like it might be a little bit of that. Trust is a big factor. And I think for both Andy and for Patrick, that's going to be something that plays into it. Noah's earned that with good reason. So I do think that that's going to be something that we're going to see. It's either going to be one or the other. They're going to run some 13 personnel if they feel that he's just that good enough as a well-rounded tight end to get him on the field early. Otherwise, I think he'll play behind Noah to begin the season. We'll see what happens around the midpoint. And good point, Terry. I appreciate you saying that. I hope you're safe, and I hope all you guys are safe. I know there's a lot of warnings across most of Oklahoma and Kansas, some into Missouri as well. So everybody be safe. Take care of yourselves. And don't worry, you can always watch this on replay. If you feel like you need to not be here, please take care of yourselves and your family. I'm going to be here either way, so no problem. Appreciate you. Thanks, Terry. And Ozzy, nice to see you. Who would you like to see the Chiefs play in the opener, and who do you think it will be? Uh, are they not going to do the schedule it with the Niners thing? Like, I'd like to see that. Or is that just the preseason game? I can't remember. I expect that they're going to do that. What I don't want to see is probably a little bit more prevalent for me. I hate it when they put conference games or division games early in the season. Like, I don't want to see them play the Broncos, Raiders, or Chargers in the first quarter. That drives me nuts. I want to see it when it counts and you're just bashing each other's skulls out. That's what I'm looking for. I want the intensity level up. This early season stuff, I don't care for interdivision games in the first four, especially with that extra one. Buys you a little extra time. Nice to see you, Doc. Hope you're doing well. And again, folks, question marks at the beginning will definitely help. Ozzy had another one here. Will Ludacun got podium today. Nice. Do you think KC intends carrying 3 quarterbacks on the 53? I think they want an excuse to. I'm not sure they can do it. Right now, there's not a ton of linemen in camp. Usually that's one of the things that kind of presses the third quarterback onto the practice squad. Switch to the other side. I mean, when you have Farrell, a guy they traded for, and Dickerson running like a third string, like there's a ton of defensive linemen. With Mike Pennell already on the roster, obviously Nadian Jones will start, Turk Wharton in there with Pennell. Charles Omeni, who obviously is out, but that leaves room for Felix Anudike-Uzomah to play a lot more snaps behind what I expect to be starter Mike Dana. I could be wrong on that. And maybe we see some acceleration from FAU in training camp. I would love to see that. Right now, it looks to me like Mike Dana is probably the starter. Again, a trust factor where Felix can then work in, sub in more, get more reps, particularly on the pass rush. I want to see him. I want to see what he's done. For those of you who haven't seen it, he, like George Karlaftis last year, has been training with Tamba Hali some. I'm not sure if it's to the same extent. I've heard differing opinions, but he has been working with Tamba Hali. And if you take nothing else away from the fact that Tamba is still in connection with the team, it's that Tamba's hands became his best attribute. And Master Kim certainly helped him, but it was not that way right away, much like Felix. Tamba was not explosive enough off the go early in his career. He had to work on how to attack, having a plan, and using his hands better. He developed, and that's what turned him into the player, along with the brute strength that he always possessed. And I think he got a little bit better coming off the ball. I could see a similar path for Felix. And so I really like the pairing there. It feels a little bit more one-to-one in terms of being more similar to Tamba than even George did. And look what it did for George Karlaftis. So I do feel like both of them working with Tamba is a big plus. And I think Ludacun, sorry, I gotta remember to say that right. I think he could be a guy that pushes on if you don't have to keep as many defensive linemen. But right now, I expect it to just be Wentz and Mahomes that are on the 53. Now, a hot preseason for Ludacun could get him traded. Let's be real. I do think he's got some upside. He's obviously been working with Mahomes. If we take a look, Mahomes on the depth chart, obviously. Ian Book is back there as well. There's not a whole lot of quarterbacks. There's 2 other guys in the rookie minicamp. We'll see if they get signed for camp or not. And we'll see if they feel like Book or one of them has come along enough to be their emergency quarterback, in which case there's going to be somebody get hurt. There's going to be a team that needs it. I could see Ludacun being a guy that is trade bait if he performs well, which I kind of expect him to do. Great question, Ozzy. Appreciate you. Info, nice to see you, buddy. Why haven't we heard Creed contract extension talk? I would like to see Veach start a little earlier than some of the past stars. It's a great question, and I think it's going to be because they need to sort a few things out. I think they should get it done as soon as possible, to tell you the truth. But you do have Trey, who's going to be in the same boat and going to be more expensive. If you really feel that Hunter Norzad is the center of the future and Creed might move to guard, again, you got to get it done now because the guard market is expensive. So I think probably what we're seeing is that they're going to have a conversation. I don't know that we're going to see Creed. I would expect him to be at the bulk of the offseason. I think we might just get a surprise one day. Hey, we got the extension done. It feels like it's an ongoing thing that isn't like pressing, but everybody expects it to happen. I'm going to try to keep up with my hydration tonight, folks. Got a lot of questions in here, and I'm going to stack a few more. Bear with me for just a minute. Hi, Jordan. I'm doing okay. How are you? I'm a little bit behind the times in terms of having my questions laid out. Jeremy, you are absolutely welcome, and thank you for being here. You guys are why we do this. So otherwise, we would not. Thundarius, nice to see you. I still got to get with you at some point, buddy, to have a discussion about beer. A lot of good ideas coming there. And I think I got a partner that's going to help us out. Smash that like. Thank you. That would be great, Jordan, if you guys could all do that as well. I'm grabbing all the super chats and the question marked questions here. We're going to go through them. So if you want on the show tonight, make sure you hit one of those. A lot of our familiar faces in here. Gary's in here. Nice to see Gary. Give Gary a hand. Gary Holland is one of our mods, and we appreciate him being in here and kind of running the rabble. I don't think we're going to get a ton of other fan bases in here tonight, Gary, but the last couple that have shown up have been really rude. So feel free to ban whoever you want. I couldn't care less. Just go after it. Nice to see Brenda in here. Nihilist is back. Will made it. Nice to see you, buddy. Okay, got those. Miss Branson's here. Nice to see you, Tracy. Okay, so I think I have the questions stacked as we currently are, except Virginia just got one in. I'll get that on the list as well, and we'll go back to the top. And evidently, the storm that is in Oklahoma and Kansas is not the same storm that I'm dealing with, but I am dealing with one, so I could have a dropout or two. So just be prepared for that, you guys. Let's see, Terry. Any concerns after Worthy left practice early the first day of rookie minicamp? None at all. I think they were just trying to take it easy. He did have a hamstring that is taking it easy on him. He looked fine to me. His feet were quick. He came back out yesterday and was catching deep overs and go routes. So I'm fairly certain. Probably the only thing that we have to worry about is that Ludicon's arm isn't getting it to X very well. That won't happen with Patrick. So no, I wouldn't be concerned, Terry. Thanks though. Let me get these squared away. And Jeremy, thanks, buddy. Appreciate the support with the super chat. Is it being a contract with it being a contract year for Tony? Do you think he balls out this season? Maybe we can all pitch in some for Stickum and send it to him. You know, hey, I'll contribute. I'm with you. It's interesting because they declined his 5th season. They had that option because he was a first-round pick originally, and the 5th-year option comes with the player. So just the fact that he was traded doesn't mean that he doesn't have a 5th-year option anymore. The Chiefs declined it. So they decided that we're not going to make that investment currently. So he does have a lot to prove. And as Terez always said to me and to everyone that would listen, contract year is undefeated. Okay. It feels like Kadarius is a little bit unstable. With all the stuff about, hey, I'm not really hurt, they're lying to you, all that crap, like, he's not a team player at this point, or he wasn't at the end of last season. He's got to get back on that boat before I think he can put himself in a position to perform. But if he's motivated to continue his career and he wants to get a big second contract, he should be pushing to ball out and give us his best performance. I will take that in a year that we're trying to get to a three-peat. I am all about the three-peat. I'm focused on that because it's never been done in history before. And that's what sets this dynasty apart from the Patriots, apart from the Steelers, and apart from the Dolphins. And that's what I want. I grew up a fan, and Ma, kudos to you, of the Chicago Bears. Best football team to ever play the sport. And I don't care about what Ravens fans say. The 85 Bears are the best team to ever get on the field. No doubt in my mind. But they only did it once. That's just not the facts of what's going on in Kansas City. They have a chance to be epic, to be historical just by winning this season. If they can get another championship this season. So it's all gas for me in terms of trying to get everything in there. And if Kadarius can get himself right mentally, get in the game and actually contribute, I am all for it. Ozzy, who would you like to see? And it looks like I had another dropout. Apologies. Let me see if there's anything I can do about that real quick. If you guys will just stand by for a second, I'm going to flip nets. We'll see one little hiccup here. Okay. Hopefully this is going to help us smooth it out. I have a load balancing thing that I just bought to try to make sure that each of my internet connections can garner from the other, and hopefully that will smooth it out. Now back to the previous question about Creed's extension. I think it's just about the positional thing, and they need to see how everybody comes along. But Dez's question here, and thank you again, Des. Nick Bolton, does the extension resemble Logan Wilson? It certainly could. I think the only thing that makes me think it might not quite get to that range is because of the injury last year. I think it should, and I think I'm comfortable with it. So I hope that that's what happens. And I think he and Creed are going to end up being the priorities. Nothing against Trey, but Trey's position is just on fire for the contract language and the volume of dollars they're putting into guards. Trey's play is good enough that I think he might have priced himself out of Kansas City unless he's willing to take a pretty significant discount. Now, that said, I don't know what's going on with Joe Thuney. We haven't had an update on the PEC, what his career plans are. He's another year older. We're going to see. This is all balanced. And I think these four guys are kind of connected in trying to get two extensions done with Joe Thuney on the roster. If Joe were to decide, hey, man, I'm just not recovering like I want to, I'm going to hang it up, that changes the math pretty significantly. So I do think that we need to see a little bit more. I would hope that we have a better idea by mandatory minicamp, which is going to come there later in early June before we hit that lull in July. But if not, we should have a very, very clear idea of it by training camp. And if that's what comes to pass and Joe's not 100% ready to go, we may see more of a push then to get somebody signed. At least one of the three of them. So that they have the room to maneuver later. That's what I'm thinking. Thanks, Daz, as always. Nice to see you, and thanks for the support, buddy. Appreciate you. Well, thank you. 30 months, 2.5 years, been supporting the channel with membership, and he's here, and he's throwing super chats, and that's what he does. It's nice to see you, Will. Thank you. And for all of you who are here tonight on a Monday night and you enjoyed the draft content, we thank you for being here. It was a great run for us. We had a great time. A little bit different. Obviously, last year we were in Kansas City together, working in the same room, but we appreciate you guys being on and everybody tuned in a lot. And we're excited about the draft class, and that only helps when you guys are excited as well. Let's see. Let the Bengals open to Casey. Okay. Give Chase and Burrow and the fans travel from Cincy a chance to see a championship banner drop. Oh, I like that little wrinkle, Will. Yeah. Might be the only chance that they get. Plus, Bengals are slow starters. So are the Chiefs. So I think that's a good team on good team, slow starter on slow starter. I like that concept. And yeah, why not rub it in a little bit? Because everybody's been talking so much trash from Cincinnati for so long, and now I think you're starting to see it start to crumble because they're not able to do what the Chiefs have been able to do in order to keep the band together. In fact, I want to look at them real quick. Let's do a quick exploration. And kudos to our lads. They do a good job keeping up with all this stuff. It's Boyd that I think is still out there. And we know that OBJ signed this week. If Boyd really wants to rub it in, he might show up for Kansas City cheap. I don't know. They could add another talent there. But you got to pay Higgins. He wants traded or paid. And then you got to pay Chase right away. Joe's coming. There's other guys. Obviously, they just got Mims, but you have some veterans along the offensive line you got to pay, including Orlando. Trey Hendrickson wants out of there. Like, there's a lot of question marks in Cincinnati, and I think we might be beginning to see the beginning of the end. And that's what I'm hoping for. Let's see. There was one other player Chiefs have rostered that I wanted to take another look at it because, well, if I can get all the cookies to go away. Yeah, I'm going to have to reload that. That does not seem correct. Anyway, we're going to come back to that in a minute, and I will make my point then. But thanks, Will. Appreciate you, as always. And I like the idea of playing Cincy first. Patrick, what do we do without more mock drafts now? Good to see you. Good to see you too, buddy. I got to tell you, I'm happy to have the mock drafts behind us. The theoretical concepts are now, let's concrete build a team, and I'm on to that phase. I'm pretty excited about it. We do the mock draft so that we have a better preparation for what could happen in the draft. And a lot of folks were upset with me at one point or another for some of the crazy ideas I had. Well, the Chiefs were just as crazy, right? Did you see a trade up with the Bills coming? Because I didn't. People were angry at me for trading up with the Pittsburgh Steelers because I wanted to go get Troy Fautanu, and that's exactly what happened. So I was dead on that. And here's the thing, and I do want to address this. A lot of folks have been talking to me on social media about the rumor that they were trying to trade up to go get Mims. I do believe that is true. He did end up in Cincinnati. And I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. And I don't think that's a disparaging remark on Kingsley. Obviously, there's a huge connection there. Andy said, he kind of chuckled today when somebody mentioned that Kingsley refers to Andy Reid as uncle because he's so tied to the BYU program. Andy mentioned that he has coached with or coached members of his family a generation ago. And obviously, there's a connection there. But I do believe they probably had Mims graded higher. And so had they been able to accomplish that, they would have done that and come back at the wide receiver spot. That's not the way it worked out. And so then it becomes, we got to go get Kingsley because he's our guy in this second tier, third tier. I would have had Mims in the second tier, but Chiefs might have it as a round. So I do feel like the mock drafts gave us some of that instance. In fact, I did mock Mims to them a couple of times in some trade ups. So I know it's kind of a pain and it does drag on as we get longer and longer into the pre-draft process. But it does pay off, especially when we try to approach it from a realistic point of view. Thank you, Patrick. And here's another one from me. How do you feel about the rookies now that the camp is over for them? I haven't seen today's action. I've seen the first 2 days, and I'm very, very excited. And that's why, honestly, I made the thumbnail that I made tonight because it's giving me those vibes. And I'm glad to see Wiley's catching on, and he seems to be hitting the ground running. That's awesome. But the guy that I'm really excited about is Hicks. For another value, I'm ecstatic that he's getting the treatment. And the treatment is what it comes down to. The treatment is what tells you where Spags wants to invest his time. And by spending that time and pulling Jaden Hicks over to him to already start working on the minor details. It's not that he's coaching him up on, hey, this is your read. You got to go get this, whatever. It's, hey, don't open your hips too early. Change your stance so you're a little bit more squared up so you're not giving the quarterback a tell. He's already working on the fine details with Jaden Hicks so that he can disguise what the assignment is and what Spags is trying to do with him. The only reason Steve Spagnuolo spends that time in rookie minicamp working with a guy right now to hide the minor details is because he intends to use him. So I do feel like that is value on value on value, and that Hicks is going to play a role pretty quickly. Much like guys before him have in Brian Cook, in Chamari Connor, in L'Jarius Sneed. This is the same kind of treatment that he's given guys that have eventually become significant contributors to the defense. And I'm excited about it. Ozzy, nice to see you. Hicks is a really emphasized in free safety role during his presser. How do you feel about the safety room shaking out this season? I love it. And don't read too much into where they're going to deploy him. This could easily be, we want you to practice the snot out of free safety because it's not your strength. There's two schools of thought. You bring in a rookie and you either double down on what he does well and you just make him do that and you kind of press to see what the ins and outs are and what he's really good at. Or you say, listen, I know you can do this. I know you can go play in the box, Jaden Hicks. I know you can blitz. I know you bring the physicality, but can you read a quarterback enough to play single high? Can you do the free safety work? And that's what it feels like to me. And again, it's a lot of teaching right now. That tells me that they feel like Brian, he can maybe go from a role where as a rookie, if Brian's recovery is perfect and he's on the field and everything's good, which we haven't had an update, and I think there's a question in here. I'm going to cover that here in a minute. We haven't had a real update. If that's the case and everything's great, perfect, then like Chamari Connor, he can play a bit role. Jaden Hicks can play a part. And that is probably more likely to be the third safety on the field in like a physical, if somebody's trying to run at you kind of thing, whereas Chamari would be more the safety that's on the field if it's a pass happy team. Because yes, they're both safeties. And yes, they can both play close to the line of scrimmage, but Jaden is a linebacker / safety, whereas Chamari is a nickel / safety. And so same area of the field, different roles, very, very entirely. So I do like that he's emphasizing that now. I didn't see his comments specifically about the free safety part. So I'll go back and listen to that, and I'll give you another opinion next week and see if anything's changed. But I do think that that's insurance against either delaying Brian Cook's return, or if you get down, later in the season, like Brian did, where he played a bigger role as the season went on as a rookie because there were some other injuries, some attrition there. So it feels like they're ready to invest in Jaden Hicks. Terry, who's the biggest standout in rookie camp so far? For me, it would probably be Hicks, but clearly rough start for Xavier, but he made some big plays on day 2 and had another couple today. So I'd say he's in the running, but evidently from everyone that I spoke to, the beat reporters that are there and have seen it, it's Wiley. Just grinding. He talked a couple days ago about how the fact that he is always churning over. This is going to be his 6th offense in 6 years. 5 at Texas and TCU, where they were constantly changing coaches. So that's pretty significant. And for him to be able to walk in, part of that like struggle that he had to go through in order to do all that learning is going to pay off now. Excuse me. I did get some good comments on Miles Battle, who's not listed here correctly. I'm not sure why. But I have him at 6'0", so almost 6'3" and 200 pounds ish. I heard that he's actually pretty intense and doing pretty well. The Brooks kid from K-State, I heard the same thing, that he's taking some kicks. And then I'm sure we're going to talk about the Englishman. I understand that he's looking more the part than anybody really expected. But for my money, it's going to be Wiley being able to walk in and have a command of the offense that most rookies do not have. There's some similar concepts he ran at TCU, and I think there might have been something at Texas as well. But clearly, he has the edge on learning a new offense. Nihilist, hope you're doing well. Rookie that contributes the most in 2024. The rookie that contributes the most over the next several seasons. 2024. With the impending suspension, I'm going to say it's going to be Xavier Worthy. I see a similar ramp-up path as Rashee Rice had last season, where it's going to be some contributions, big play here or there, and then as the season goes on, it's going to be more steadily fed. He's going to be a bigger part of the offense in December than he is in October, and that's okay. Especially if they don't suspend Rashee Rice until a court date in the spring or something like that, and Rashee gets to play all season. Now, the bigger thing is there's a little bit of an overlap, the way that they're going to start out using Xavier Worthy, I think, with Hollywood Brown. Hollywood's going to be there, and you're going to want to feed him too. So it's a chemistry thing. It's a connection thing. It's trying to get Patrick on the same page with him. We got a little bit of tidbit here today. I can't remember who originally posted it, that Mahomes is interested in connecting with these guys and understanding who's where and when. He's been working with Hollywood a ton, and now he's calling Chris Ludicum to get an idea about some of the other pass catchers that he's not working with yet and get some feedback there so that he's ready to make those connections. And I do think, as much as the offseason system that they're using, where they go down and have throwing camps with Patrick, I think it still all changes when you put pads on. So I do think there's going to be an adjustment period, and I think they're going to have to take that a little bit more seriously, or maybe not seriously. I'm not trying to say they weren't serious last year. But I think Patrick's going to have to spend a little bit more time with the young receivers this year than he did last, to try to pull that all together and avoid some of the chemistry things last year. Thanks, Nihilist. Gary, good to see you, buddy, as always. Everybody give Gary a hand, one of our mods. Ryan is the TCU tight end. Will he be better this year than he was drafted? Yes, absolutely. I think the fit and finish that he presents inside Andy's offense is going to be like, the rest of the league's going to be like, well, how'd that kid get to be here? Like I think we're going to see him rise above a lot of the other prospects. I like Sinnott. I think, unfortunately, he went to an offense that I'm not sure is going to be able to capitalize on him as much as I'd like to see. Certainly Sanders is a bigger question mark. I think Wiley, much like George, could be a guy that was thought to be fourth, fifth, sixth type guy in a class that comes up and is right at the top of it. George Karlaftis is right there with Hutchinson from Detroit after being what we and most of the draft world considered the fifth-ish, sixth-ish prospect at his position in his draft. I think we could see the same thing. Thanks, Gary. John, nice to see you, bud. Given the fact that we are loaded at safety and that Hicks is trending towards linebacker side, do you think drafting Hicks played a part in letting Gay go or vice versa? I feel better, Dan. And Dan, that's the sentiment from everybody that we're seeing in here. So if you ever go back and watch this, I hope that you're feeling better, buddy. And folks, we'll get Dan back next week, I'm expecting. So we'll go from there. I don't think they were necessarily related. I know that the grades on Hicks were in long before the decision was made to let Willie go. Willie got a decent-sized contract, but it really came down to probably, hey, I got an offer from New Orleans. Do you guys want to match it? And then they had to make a decision point. Grades on Hicks were already in then. They liked what they saw on film. We did as well. We had him as a second-round pick. Dane Brugler had him as the best safety in the class. So Spags had already identified him, I'm pretty sure, through the scouting department. But Willie was a different thing, and I don't think it's a one-for-one. I think Hicks is more of a, can he do what Dan Sorensen did? I think Spags misses Dan Sorensen, but he realized that the performance just wasn't there. And I think Hicks can do similar things. And training him to play some free, just like Sorensen did, even though it wasn't his thing, is part of that evolution. So I see it more related to that than it is directly to Willie Gay. I do think that the Jacobs signing is probably related to Gay more directly. It does tell me that Cam Jones and Jack Cochran are the two guys that are going to back up the linebackers this season. That's why they let Christensen go early so that he can land somewhere else. Cody, nice to see you, buddy. Does Gary Dieter help the young receivers as an intern coach? I think that he does, and maybe not from a standard X's and O's kind of way. He does obviously have playing experience on this team, in this offense, at the wide receiver position, which is more than you can say for the wide receivers coach, who has not played wide receiver. So he does need some help there. But here's the bigger thing. When it comes down to, hey, you're running this route. Patrick wants a skinny post at 12 yards, make your cut, and get open so that he can see you. Dieter's going to have an ability to communicate different subtleties to that request so that it lines up with what Patrick wants, because he knows Patrick. Not only do they play together, but they're tight off the field. So there's an extra feedback loop in terms of communicating to the younger players that I think he's going to be really interesting at. They've had a string of intern coaches here for a long time, and a lot of them go on to coaching in the league. Mike Vick was even one of them at one point. So I do think it's an interesting turn, but I do think it presents unique possibilities on how to connect and click with Patrick Mahomes that nobody else could really offer, to tell you the truth. Great question, Cody. Jason, nice to see you. Do you think that Jared Wiley is going to have a big role if Rashee Rice becomes suspended for 2 to 8 games? I don't think Rashee is immediately going to impact Wiley's usage. I think that could be an offshoot down the line, but I think the big thing is going to be, and again, if we look at this depth chart, Rashee is going to be immediately backed up, in my opinion, by Justin Watson. Justin Watson is likely, I disagree with our lads here, Justin Watson is likely the number one right now. Xavier Worthy is likely not number one because, again, the trust factor. So if they have everyone, my guess is week 1 through week 6, the Chiefs start Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, and Hollywood Brown. If Rashee is not able to do that, I think you're trying to push Xavier into making those plays, and Wiley gets a few more reps. But again, the trust factor, especially early in the season, I think is going to be based a little bit more towards Noah Gray, because you know you can trust him. And so I think that plays a bigger factor and gives the guys, the young guys, a little bit more time to grow. And that's a plus for everybody. Great question, Jason. Thank you. Patrick, Prayers to Dan just saw his tweet that he's in the ER. Oh, I hadn't seen that. He just said he wasn't feeling good to me. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to go to TweetDeck and see that. I will get an update later, you guys. We're not gonna sidetrack that right now, especially if I'm going to be reacting to Dan's health live. Dan, if you're watching, I'll connect with you later tonight, and I hope that you're doing better. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Would you be interested in Michael Thomas? I mean, as a flyer, possibly, but only if you're willing to walk away from Kadarius Toney, because I don't think you give up on Sky Moore because he might be able to turn around. I think they trust Justin Watson. And obviously Worthy, Hollywood, Rasheed are going to be in there. So who do you remove from the top 6 if you're going to sign Michael Thomas? It's probably Kadarius. So they got to be ready to walk on from that. I don't think they keep 7 receivers this year, guys. I do think it's going to be a 6-man room. And I think Justin Ross right now is on the outside looking in. So that might be tough for Michael Thomas to make a fit as well. Virginia, will Nico get some playing time this year? I think so. I haven't seen anything specific about him at this camp. I know he's eligible, but I don't think he's running in it. I haven't seen anything. So my guess is we won't know about whether he's physically able till later in the process. OTAs start again in 2 weeks, and I think that's probably when we'll start to hear. I do think they want to see him at kick return, though. And if I'm wrong, you guys let me know in the chat. If he has been out there and I'm just not aware of it, that is a possibility as well. Excuse me. But I think he showed enough that they're interested to see. And Zamet's taking some kicks. Obviously, Xavier is. There's a lot of returners this year that I think show some definite possibilities. So we'll see what comes of it. Go for KC forever. Thank you, buddy, and appreciate the support. Thanks for the super chat. Good to see you as well. You always have great information. Thank you. If in V-Suite Trucks, it's been a good offseason. Keep nailing RGR. Go Chiefs. Thanks. Appreciate you forever. And thanks for being here, as you always are. Girk, nice to see you. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate the super chat. So Brown, LRZ, Worthy, Wiley, Bailey, Steele. Excited for the offense. Between Battle, Wallace, Haddon, and Hicks, what's the ideal DB room? Wow. I mean, Hicks is going to make it. I mean, that's not even a question. It's him, Chamari. As long as Brian Cook is available, they should be it. If we look at the safety depth chart here, you're going to see what he's already in there with Chamari. Now, Deion's going to be in reserve. Deion Bush came in and made some plays, so we should be happy with that. But I do think it's going to come down to the corner battles, and I think Hayden has a chance. I'm not sure how comfortable they are with having Josh start one side and Watson start the other and leaving Trent in the nickel. I think part of that is going to hinge on how Nazee's doing. Now, Nazee was doing great, was looking like they could leave him at nickel and let McDuffie play outside until the injury last year. I don't know if that's the case now. So I feel like Hayden comes marching in. Kamal has a shot to make the roster right now. So I would say he and Battle would be right behind him. That's what I would think. Now, interesting that you put the first half of it as LRZ. That's Louis Reese Zamet, folks. He's the English rugby player. That you listed him with the wide receivers first, although you do have Bailey and Steele in there as well. I think Zamet is a running back, and they've started him that way, and I think they're going to leave him that way. If he splits out and runs some routes, fine. But the pitch game is going to be epic if you're throwing it to a rugby guy who takes pitches his whole career. And let's be real. This is professional football. We're not going to know anything. As I said on Locked On Chiefs tonight, we're not going to know anything until LRZ gets hit, because this ain't rugby. That's going to be an eye-opener for him. But I will also say this. Pitching to him in the open field when he's been a professional pitch catcher in rugby, he does not play the scrums. He's not a guy that's in the center. He's the guy on the wings that they pitch to. So he receives pitches in rugby, and that is his bread and butter. Now, he's got to learn the angles, because they don't have free safeties up high that are coming down to cut off angles, right? But he's a guy that's going to get the ball in his hand. He's going to make some noise. And I think they should continue to line him up. I think he might make the roster as a running back. I think Steele has an option as well. Bailey's a little bit more iffy because I don't know if he does enough to separate himself from Pirine and Prince, who have the inside right now. Somebody's got to step forward, and it could be LRZ. My guy Steele, I think, is probably destined to be a practice squatter, but we'll see. But there's a lot of options there. And I will say this too. I do like Battle's physicality, just going back to the defensive side a little bit. But it's this guy, Rollin Wallace, that I think we got to keep an eye on as well. Lot of snaps he's played, crafty, and understands the game. Ekaboido is a long shot as well, but he put in good snaps last year. I'm not sure Kelvin Joseph can make this roster, and I think Battle surpasses him pretty quickly. So that's kind of where I'm at on it all. Great question, Gherkin. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate you, buddy. Chief Belief, thank you. 3.5 years almost. You are the beast. You're pushing the limit. Only Gooch and a couple of other folks are ahead of you. I appreciate you, buddy. Love the show. Rogue Nation has grown so much, and I'm wondering what you see the offense being ranked at the end of the season with a top 5 defense. I'm not sure a top 5 defense can sustain. They outplayed my prediction, which was like 12-ish to be at 4 overall. So certainly they can outperform me, but they have to have a couple of guys switch. And the corner position in particular, along with not having a Menahue, I'm a little concerned. So if they can get to 10, I'll be happy. And that'd be a great pickup. And with that offense, it's going to come down to, is the pass protection better or not? And if Patrick doesn't have to get creative, if he doesn't have to run for his life as much early in the season in particular, I think he'll be more steady. He'll deliver the ball more on time without any last-second heroics, right? Which I think throws off some of the young receivers. So I think that leads to a better pass game with fewer turnovers, and then the offense overall is better. The question is going to be, do they double down and do they run more? Because I think with Wanya, you have to run more because that protects him a little bit as he's still developing. If Suamataia wins, if Kingsley wins, I think it's 50-50. And I know everybody gave me crap all offseason. Suamataia is the way that you pronounce that. He said it himself in the presser yesterday. So we got that one kind of sorted out, which is, kind of a relief to me. So if you're able to pass the ball like you want to and not sustain the pressure, I think you'll be able to get easily in the top 10. I would expect them, if everything goes to plan, they could finish as top 5 on both offense and defense. It's going to take a little bit, but I think they could get there. Thanks, Chief Belief. Jackson, thank you, buddy. 7 months and counting. Appreciate you very much. What are the chances that Reed gets an extension? The safety, not head coach. Yeah, I'm with you. The head coach just got an extension. So I do think that it's a possibility. And again, that plays into all the math that we were talking about earlier with Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton, Trey Smith, and what happens with Joe Tooney. Because if Tooney were to retire, say, that salary comes off the board. That allows you to pay for both Creed and Trey. Nick takes care of himself. That's pretty much worked out. Here's the thing is, if Trey goes to the free market and you have to match that, you can't do it, I don't think. Because you're going to be able to get Creed Humphrey and Nick Bolton for probably the same price that you're going to have to pay Trey Smith. Because guard play right now is just overpriced. It's crazy. They're getting wide receiver money. It's nuts. So I am a little bit worried about that. And so if you're having to do all that, it gets a little bit troublesome of how you can take care of Justin Reed and get him back. Now, that said, they want him. They like what he does, and he's here to become the captain that he has. And folks, thank you for all of this. Really appreciate all the thoughts and prayers for Dan. I'm not sure what's going on, and I will find out after this stream. Hopefully, we will figure out what's going on. Grabbing another couple of questions. Last call for questions, folks, as we're getting down to it. And I will hope to finish them up. Casey, I do agree with you and Jackson that I would think that he should get an extension if they can work it out. It's about the timing. And quite frankly, we're going to find out what the salary cap bump is going to be next year too. So I think that's going to have to come in. But there's so much media money. Hopefully they can get it done. Thanks, Jackson. Bradley, appreciate you. Do you believe the rookie class step up to the plate and get us to the repeat with this veteran core coming back? Come to AFC conference. Do worry about facing again, and I hate the Bungles. I'm totally with you. It's always a press, but I feel like the weakness of last year in terms of the receiving core has been dealt with and is upgraded overall as a group. So that's a plus. I do feel like the winner of the left tackle battle, which is going to be Kingsley Suamataia and Wanya Morris, is probably going to be an overall upgrade over Donovan Smith. Now, Donovan's got savvy, and he was able to play great in the playoffs. Getting there was a little bit rougher. And so I do think that the younger athletic guys have an advantage there that can upgrade it. But you got to get impact from the rookies. So it's got to be Wiley stepping up. It's got to be Worthy stepping up. It's got to be Hicks stepping up on top of Kingsley. So I hesitate to say that it's a long shot because the last two classes have stepped up in their years and helped them get to Super Bowls. I have no reason to think that this rookie class can't do the same. So I am optimistic, Bradley, and I do think that they can get it done. Any word on Cook? Kurt, no update yet. Really looking for that. And from what I'm hearing, there's some changes in the organization for PR and that kind of stuff. So it's not quite as consistent as to when we get what words. And you'll notice Rick Burkholder hasn't been on or doing pressers lately. So we're not getting direct update on injuries. So I know it was more significant than they let on last year. You can see that in some of the franchise footage. So I'm hoping that he's ready by camp is my personal goal. I'd love to hear that he's ahead of that, but we're just going to have to see. Appreciate you, Kurt. Hope you're doing good, bud. Kevin, thank you, buddy. Who are you picking as our opening opponent? I'm picking the Texans. I think that's a great matchup, and I think that's what the NFL would like to see. I like the Bengals as well. I'm really hopeful that they're not going to do the welcome to the NFL, coach, and put Jim Harbaugh as the starting point, and we have to play the Chargers right away because I hate playing division games early. So keep your fingers crossed, Kevin. I'm with you. I'll take that. Will, thank you for the support as always, pal. Another round. Chance Rice could play X if Chiefs signed a player like Boyd. What free agent wide receivers could be a solid X that can block, get off a press, and be a chain mover? Well, Michael Thomas was mentioned earlier. He can do all of that. He's not willing to block a whole lot, but I don't see why they don't try Boyd. And Boyd would be the X. Rice wouldn't have to go. He'd go to Z. You'd put Xavier or you'd put Hollywood in the slot more. And then you'd put Xavier on there as the 4. Boyd would play the X almost all the time. He could swap a little bit with Rice, but I think you want to keep Rice as the Z and just keep him fluid and moving. Let's take a look. Do I have it up here? I should. But let me see who's left on the free agent list. Bear with me just a second, and we will see. Now, if you guys want to use Spot Track, that's perfectly fine. I use them half the time too. Over the Cap's updated a little bit faster this time of year, so that's where I tend to go. Let me increase that a little bit, so hopefully it's more visible for you all. There we go. And so we're looking for wide receivers that are still out there, meaning they don't have a second team. Odell is likely signing right now. We're not 100% on that, and obviously hasn't been updated. Boyd and Thomas are right there. Scanling, obviously, I think he's visiting the Raiders. Good luck with that. McColl's still out there. Randall Cobb is not an option. Slater is not an option. Marquise Goodwin, he's more of a Z, but you could maybe get away with it if you really wanted to add somebody. Richie's back out there. Looks like he was a one-year wonder in Kansas City. We'll see. Could be a late re-edition. But you see, there's not much here. So I don't know. I don't know that you're going to do anything. Honestly, the guy that I would go after right now would be Boyd. But look at Boyd's age. He's 30. Thomas is 31. So that's, I think, what's holding it back right now. So the answer really is, I don't think there's anybody out there that can really play the X for you right now. If they were willing to do it, they probably would have already done it. Thanks, Will. Appreciate you. What 6 wide receivers are you keeping? Right now, the depth chart on my depth chart stacks up like it does on our lads. The only difference is I would have Watson as the starter because I do believe that's what Andy will want. But Justin Watson, Xavier Worthy, Brown, Rice are your top 4. Moore and Tony are the next 2. If you went 7, it would be Ross. I do agree with that, but I don't think they're going 7. And so it's going to be, do you squeeze a 7th on in Nico Remigio because you want him to be a returner? Or does Zamet or Worthy or someone else take those duties? In which case, I think Ross should still be practice squad eligible, and I know Nico is. So I expect them to be there, and in case of emergency, you can elevate them. That's where I'm sitting right now. Thanks, Kurt. Let me know what you think. Thundarius, hope you're doing well. I am hopefully unveiling something cool during the Q&A next week. Oh, awesome. That I've been working on, Chiefs related. That's awesome. Everybody check out Thundarius' channels. I like the beer one, but the Chiefs one is great too. And be here next week on Monday so you can get the lowdown, I hope. I hope it's something awesome and good for you. Thanks for doing it here. In fact, I'll even pause the show for you next week so you can make the announcement. It'll be a lot of fun. Rifleman, what do you think about the UDFA Steele? I love Steele. His running style is exactly what I'm looking for. He's a more agile Sherm, but he's going to go at you. He's going to run downhill, and I love that. He catches the ball really well, though, too. In fact, Andy Reid commented on that, I believe. So I like the fact that he can do multiple roles, and it's not just limited to running back, fullback. He can be an H as well. I think he can run land blocks across the formation. I can think he can do a lot of things. But you guys know how I am. I like the H/fullback type guys quite a bit. I'm not going to tease myself that Andy Reid's going to go back to a full-time fullback, but I would really, really like to see Steele make it, and I think that there's a possibility. Your specific game plans for Xavier to keep him safe from crippling hits. It's a couple of things. A, I want to run him with Hollywood. So I want them stacked on one side of the field, maybe even in a triple set. And what I want to do is send those guys both in kind of not straight goes, but arcing routes that put one safety to a decision point so that they don't have single safeties coming down. If defenses adjust then and put 4 high and they're playing either quarters or some kind of mixed cloud coverage, but with 4 guys deep and backed off, fine. Then I let Hollywood go through them because he knows how to pick, weave, and keep himself safe. And I'm having Xavier cut them all off at mid-range at 15 yards and 18 yards and take behind the linebackers in front of deep safeties and just move the chains all day long. And every now and then he's going to get one. He's going to have the right angle. He's going to take it to the house. So that's exactly how I would do Pono. Thanks for the question, buddy. Hope you're doing well out there. And we're going to wrap up with Bradley. I didn't see any more super chats. I'm going to do one more check here, folks, before we call it for the night. And Girk, thanks for that. Vertigo, huh? Okay. I had not heard from him since this morning when he said he wasn't feeling good. He wasn't going to be on tonight. So, all right. I will find out more. Dang. All right. I'm sorry to hear that. But if it were serious, I think he'd probably be telling me, but I don't know. Maybe he got caught off guard. We'll find out. Bradley, LRZ is used to reading gaps on the run as a rugby player, and I think that's huge. Rugby doesn't have playbooks like football. Learning offense is going to make him dangerous. It is, but you also have to understand that he doesn't have to read as many guys because rugby is played in a single plane. They are lateral formation, right? And so when he breaks through, his acceleration usually takes him to the point where backside defenders aren't able – sorry, I should be doing this into the camera. Where backside defenders aren't able to catch him as much. In fact, I should probably do it this way. So rugby is played laterally, right? You come out of the scrum and everybody's about here. You might have a couple guys high, but not like high like you would in a safety in football. And so he's used to making his cut, accelerating this way. And there might be one or two guys that try to meet him over the top. Mostly they can't catch him in the rugby leagues. But he's not used to playing where he has to catch the ball here, accelerate, and he's got a safety over the top that's coming down at him. That's going to be the key. He's got to learn to be a little bit more shifty, because usually, from what I've seen, and I've watched several of his, I've watched a couple of highlight reels, but I've watched some of his general games as well. He usually makes a step or two and goes. And again, if you're running zone running back, perfect. But it's not a lot of wiggle down the field. So it's usually his burners are enough to get him there. That's not going to be the case against single high and even split high safeties. So he's going to have the ability and develop the ability to put his foot in the ground and shake somebody loose, at least one. But I agree with you. He is going to be dangerous when he learns this offense. He's a unique athlete. And the thing that I don't think people talk about enough, the bottom line for me, is that he's a professional athlete, and he has been in a professional league in a whole other sport. And he's willing to come adapt to do this because he wants to. That's the motivation for him. And I think that will pay off. And he understands what it's like to be dedicated to the sport, whatever sport it is. So I think he has a much greater chance than average guy coming in from the international program. Great point, Will. Appreciate you. Talk tidy. Can call LRZ British, correct? Yes. I mean, yes, he's Welsh. There's 4 countries within Britain, right? So we should get Brad on here. I'll try to get Brad to come back on and explain to us Wales is. Ryan Reynolds has to deal with this because Wrexham is Welsh as well, as I understand. So I think that's correct. I don't know. I haven't watched that show in a while, but yeah, it's within the UK. So yes, I think you can refer to that as British. We'll double check with our British friends and give you the lowdown, DC. And we're going to wrap up tonight with Daryl. Thank you, Daryl, for the super chat and the contribution. Appreciate you, buddy. One of our long time members. I got messed around on my 34-month membership. Seriously? Did it drop you for some reason? Dang it. Well, hey, I'll still count it. 35 and counting as far as I'm concerned, buddy. You've been here for a long time. Folks, if you want to get there, you can join the memberships. There's a join button down below, and you will get there with all the extras. And you get into Rogue Nation. Rogue Nation is the Discord that is only for our members. And you have to log into Discord. You have to log into YouTube and connect them. And then if you're a rookie member here, you get into all the rooms over there. So I hope that you're doing well. Please keep Dan in your thoughts tonight. I'm going to go try to find out what's going on with him and go from there. And if I can, I'll let you guys know. If not, he'll, I'm sure, inform everyone afterwards. But a little bit more serious than I thought it was. So please keep Dan in your thoughts, as well as little Avery and Mama. And we'll let you guys know what's going on as soon as we can. So thanks for being with us. I appreciate you guys very much, and have a great night. I've got an interview coming up. I think you guys are going to dig. I'm going to try to get that out tomorrow, and we'll be back with more all week. So keep it here. Be ready for Chiefs news. Who knows what they're going to do next, because they could sign somebody at the drop of a dime. Have a good one. We'll catch you next time.